Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Crystal, just in case you are new here, and today I have a great video for you guys. I would love to let you guys all know what top 10 fantasy series I'd like to get to this year. Now, some of these are series that I'm in the middle of as well, but I would really love to get to them. There's definitely at least 10 fantasy series that are like my #1 priority for 2025. So I would love to get into that. Last year, reading was kind of just like a dud for me. I had just had my son. I was being a mom for the first time and I had no time really to read, and everything that I read kind of just went in my brain and out the other side kind of thing. There were some books that really stuck with me, like Quicksilver at the end of the year. I really love that book. Phantasma by Kaylee Smith, really love that book, as you guys know if you've been watching my recent videos. But there are so many series that have been on my TBR for sometimes months, years, many years, weeks, days, whatever the case is. But I want to discuss my top 10 so far this year that I really want to make priority. So the first series, which I'm currently reading the 3rd book, and that is the Red Rising trilogy series. I don't really know how these books work, but I know that Red Rising, Golden Sun, and Morningstar were part of a trilogy that was first written, and then Pierce Brown decided to go on to like another era of books, but still keeping like the same characters basically. So I cannot wait to continue on. Morningstar is so off the bat, like the first page off the, I mean, the way that Golden Sun ended, there was no way that, I'm so happy that I'm reading, wow, I'm starting a lot of sentences and not finishing them. I'm so happy that I'm binging this series than having to wait for books to come out, because the way that this Golden Sun was left on like such a cliffhanger, and the way that this is picking up, I'm just having such a great time reading this series, and I'm so happy that I'm doing it now in my life, in the current moment. I don't think I would have enjoyed the series as much if I read it when it first came out, like when BookTube was really buzzing about Pierce Brown and his books. I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much as I'm really like loving it right now. So the series is a priority, and I am hoping to get this book finished soon. Before the end of February, it'll be done. Another series that is just sounds like so daunting but so exciting, and that is Zodiac Academy. I am still reading book 2 if you watched my previous videos, but we are almost done with book 2. Loving this. It's so much fun. It's really like mindless too, so I've been kind of reading this as like my nighttime read where I don't have to pay much attention to things, and it's on Kindle, so it's great to read all cuddled up under my blanket at night and just getting lost in a crazy fantasy world. I mean, this is like Harry Potter but adult but mean, you know, like everyone's just mean, and I don't know why I'm loving this so much. I really don't. It's pure, I don't want to say it's pure trash, but it's just so like, I don't know how to it's not literary by any means. That's the way to put it. It's not literary by any means. Then the next series that I'm really wanting to get to so badly, and everyone keeps saying how amazing the series is. I go to Barnes & Noble and people that work there love this series, and that is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This is going to be 3 books, I think, by April or something like that, so I want to get the 1st and 2nd book done before then. But look how cool the new Barnes & Noble edition is with the swords. I think this is so cool. This is like a King Arthur King Arthur retelling. There's like Merlin and knights, but it's also like a magic school, dark academia. Our main character, she loses her mom in like a car accident or some type of accident, and she's basically like, the book starts off of like her picking up the pieces and just kind of being like a numb 16-year-old, like going about life without your mom, and then she discovers like magic. So I'm excited to get into this. I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. I heard the magic system is really cool, and I am looking for something new and unique, and I just think this is going to be something I love. Also, the romance is not as intense because it's YA. So I'm sure there's little inklings of romance in here, but not exactly like romance, if you know what I mean. I need a little bit of break of the smutty romance fantasy. Then the next series that I really need to get to in my lifetime, but I definitely want to try to finish it this year, 2025, and that is the Lord of the Rings series, Fellowship. I've never read this. I've read The Hobbit probably like 10 times, but I've never read the entire Lord of the Rings series, which is like a trilogy, and then we have the Silmarillion also, which I'd love to get to this year. So, love the movies. I grew up watching the movies, and I just need to read the books. I know the books are a little different than the movies, so hence why I need to read them and then rewatch all the movies. So I'm going to reward myself by every time I read one of the books, I'm going to watch the movie. A future God tier series I need to continue with, and that is Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive. This is the second book. This is the book that is next on my agenda. Most likely going to be a part of my March 2025 TBR. I cannot wait to dive back in. The way that The Way of Kings ends, and a lot of people feel like The Way of Kings is just so boring, you know, and yes, I could say that there were times where I was like, oh, like how does everyone love this book? But the payoff, like the last like 300, 200 pages, the payoff is so worth it for The Way of Kings and to get to the point that we're at now. And I can't wait. Can't wait. So Stormlight Archive, Bridge 4. I can't wait to dive back in. And then a series that I need to like kind of finish up with, which I did hear that there was a novella coming out for this, and this is the Belladonna series, Wisteria. I need to finish this last book. I love this series. I highly recommend this series, especially if you love gothic fiction, if you love gothic romance. This is just the series for you. It's so good and spooky, but the romance is like tastefully done. It's just so good. So highly recommend this. And honestly, if you can get your hands on these Barnes & Noble like exclusive editions, they're so beautiful underneath just to even have. But I need to finish up. And I love how that there's like a mystery kind of thrown in also. So it's not just like romance, there's a mystery as well, which just makes it more interesting for a YA. And then another series that could possibly be God tier, which is an urban fantasy series, and that is City of Gods and Monsters. I want to say that this is definitely an urban fantasy with a romance subplot. Everyone says the spice is great in here, which I'm looking forward to. I like to read both, you know, romantasy and fantasy, although I did see an article from Rebecca Yaros mentioning that we probably shouldn't compartment. I can't say that word. We shouldn't really put like fantasy romance in a box and like just kind of like make it its own thing, because romance has been in fantasy for so many years and for forever, really. So like to make like this subgenre of romantasy just doesn't make sense. It's fantasy with a romantic subplot, and I really agree with that. I think, you know, all these books that are labeled romantasy are kind of driving men away from reading fantasy books, really good fantasy books, because they think it's just smut books, but it's not. There's great plots, there's a lot going on. So I'm curious to see how this series is. It's a chunker of a series. I know it's a Kindle Unlimited series, but this just sounds right up my alley. It's got every type of supernatural creature you can imagine in it, and it takes place in like, you know, a setting, like a modern day like setting, urban fantasy that I love. People compare this to Crescent City. They say it's better than Crescent City, which I have a bone to pick with, so I will make that decision and I will let you guys know my opinions. Hopefully starting this very soon. It just sounds like something that I'm gonna love, and I just keep putting it off because I think, you know, like when you love something, you think you're gonna love something so much, so it's like kind of intimidating to, you know, go after. Well, that's this series. Next series that I'd like to get to is, this is the Legacy series by Melissa K. Rorick. She wrote the Lady of Darkness series, which I really would love to get to also, but this book only has like 3 books, and I heard that this one is great. This is also like an urban setting, urban fantasy setting, I think. So it sounds good. It's about gods, you know, all the tropes that I love in fantasy books are in here as romantasy books. But I heard that the world building is great, the characters are great, people just love the series, and I just need to know why. People just love this author's writing, so I just really want to dive into one of her series this year as priority, just to get familiar with her writing and be introduced to a new author, because who doesn't love that? And then my number 9, because I wasn't counting here, but this is my 9th one, and that is the Faithful and the Fallen. I almost said the wrong series. Malice by Gwynne. This is a series that I have been wanting to get to for so long now. And I am going to get to it in 2025. It just sounds like something that I'm really gonna love, and I do really enjoy high fantasy from time to time, as like a kind of like in between all the romantasy books that I read. I just love when an author can do character work really well, and that's what I hear Gwynne is really good at, making you love his characters and just falling in love with the setting. He paints such a beautiful picture, so I'm really looking forward to getting to this series. This is one of his most well-loved series. Not that all of them aren't well-loved, because I don't think I've heard anyone say one bad thing about Gwynne's writing ever. And I have never seen like a bad review about his books at all. So I'm really excited to get to his works this year as well. And lastly, the last series I really love to get to is the Liveship Traders series by Robin Hobb. This just sounds like such a fun series, and it's about like sentient like ships. It just, and dragons, and it just has all like the fantasy elements that I love, high fantasy elements, but it takes place in the water, so it's almost like a pirate type story. I did try to read like the Assassin's Apprentice and that series first, and it just didn't click for me. So I'm thinking maybe if I pick up this series first, maybe being thrown into this world in a different way, I might enjoy it more and want to pick up that, you know, Fitz's series afterwards. But you don't have to read them like in tandem. Like you don't have to read that series first before this one, from what I've heard. So I'm gonna get into that this year. That was a quick little video of all of the fantasy, because I don't want to separate romance fantasy from high fantasy. There's always romance in fantasy, and Rebecca Yarros was right about that, and I don't think we should separate it from genres and intimidate men into reading smut books, because they're not just smut. They do have great plots and great characters, and everything that you read in your high fantasy books are in those books. So I think we're just kind of limiting our audience to books. So like I said, that is it for my top 10 fantasy series that I want to get to in 2025. If any of these series are books that you're going to be reading this year, let me know in the comments down below. You can hear my son saying "Mom" in the other room. Let me know in the comments down below if you too plan on reading any of these series. I'd love to buddy read with some of you guys also, so definitely follow me on Instagram and we can kind of link up that way. So that is it. That's all I have for you today. If you like this video and want to see more videos from me, please just like and subscribe down below. Tell your friends, follow me on Instagram. All my links are in the description bar down below. And on that note, I will be talking to all you guys soon. Bye!